menyanyikan lagu kebangsaan Indonesia Raya. Hadirin dipersilahkan untuk duduk kembali. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Selamat pagi kami ucapkan kepada profesional internal audit, komisaris, direksi, dan komite audit, para chief audit eksekutif, para auditor inspektorat kementerian, para auditor BUMN, para auditor perusahaan swasta lainnya, dan juga para auditor perguruan tinggi, tentunya juga untuk undangan pengurus asosiasi profesi, pengurus IIA Indonesia, dan seluruh peserta yang berbahagia. Selamat datang dalam acara The Institute of Internal Auditors Indonesia National Conference 2020. Nama saya Lia Atmajaya, senang sekali saya bisa berada di sini untuk menjadi MC di agenda hari ini dan juga besok. Bapak dan Ibu yang kami hormati, mengawali seluruh rangkaian acara kita hari ini akan kami undang Presiden IIA Indonesia untuk menyampaikan kata sambutan. Yang kami hormati Bapak Hari Setianto, kami persilakan.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi, salam sejahtera untuk Bapak dan Ibu sekalian. Yang saya hormati Bapak Wakil Ketua BPK, Bapak Agus Joko Pramono, Pak AJP. Yang saya hormati rekan-rekan sejawat dari asosiasi profesi, ada Ketua Umum DPN IAI, Profesor Madiasmo, ada Ketua Umum AAIP, Ibu Sumiati, ada Ketua Umum FKSPI, Ibu Mustaslimah, dari IAIB, Pak Anton Gunadi, dari ISAKA, Pak Rahmat Mulyana, ACV, Pak Gatot Trihargo, dari YPIA dan PII, Pak Ashari, dan juga Bapak Ibu sekalian, para peserta conference. Ada tadi sudah disebutkan oleh MC, ada para internal auditor, Chief Audit Eksekutif, Inspektorat Jenderal di Kementerian, kemudian Inspektur Provinsi, Kabupaten, Kota, juga hadir beberapa komisaris senior-senior kami yang ada di sini. Terima kasih kehadirannya, dan juga para komite audit, praktisi risk management, dan lain-lainnya. Jadi selamat datang di conference kita, IIA Indonesia. Adalah sebuah kehormatan besar bagi kami, IIA. Saya mewakili para pengurus IIA untuk menyambut Bapak Ibu sekalian dalam conference yang bertajuk Communication dan Collaboration, Learning from the Pandemic.
Terima kasih banyak Bapak Hari Setianto. Dengan demikian Bapak dan Ibu sudah resmi kita buka IIA National Conference 2020. Jadi kalau saya boleh menggarisbawahi apa yang sudah dikatakan oleh Pak Hari juga. Jadi dalam upaya untuk menangani permasalahan ekonomi baik pada tingkat perusahaan, regional, nasional dan juga internasional. Apalagi di masa pandemi COVID-19 ini, tentunya kerjasama yang erat dan juga saling berkomunikasi serta kolaborasi ini merupakan kunci utama untuk mengembalikan kegiatan perekonomian. Bapak dan Ibu yang kami hormati, pada kesempatan pertama ini mari kita undang Wakil Ketua Badan Pemeriksa Keuangan Republik Indonesia dengan paparan materi yang berjudul Supreme Audit Institutions Expectations of IA Roles in Overseeing COVID and National Economic Recovery Management Expenditures. Kepada Bapak Agus Joko Pramono, kami persilakan.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi dan salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Yang saya hormati Presiden Institute of Internal Auditors Indonesia, Bapak Hari Setianto, para Dewan Pengurus Nasional IIA Indonesia, para auditor internal, organisasi sektor publik dan private, serta peserta Konferensi Nasional Audit Internal yang berbahagia. Pertama-tama marilah kita panjatkan puji syukur kepada Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala karena atas rahmat dan karunia-Nya kita dapat hadir bertatap muka secara virtual dalam keadaan sehat walafiat pada acara Konferensi Nasional Audit Internal 2020 dalam kondisi pandemi COVID-19 dan dampaknya terhadap kehidupan sosial dan ekonomi negara. Marilah kita panjatkan doa kepada Tuhan Yang Maha Kuasa agar kita selalu diberi kesehatan dan keselamatan dalam melaksanakan tugas dan kegiatan sehari-hari. Semoga kondisi ini lekas membaik dan pandemi berakhir sehingga kehidupan kita bisa kembali seperti sedia kala. Banyak cara kerja dan interaksi sosial khususnya dalam dunia audit berubah dan membutuhkan tingkat penyesuaian yang cukup beragam. Komunikasi, sinergi, dan kolaborasi menjadi kata kunci dalam menghadapi ketidakpastian dan VUCA di era digital ini. Pada kesempatan yang baik ini, IIA meminta kami untuk membagikan perspektif dan ekspektasi Badan Pemeriksa Keuangan selaku auditor eksternal terhadap peran audit internal dalam penanganan COVID-19 dan pemulihan ekonomi nasional.
Mohon maaf karena keterbatasan waktu, Q&A session akan kita akhiri. Terima kasih banyak Pak JP.
Terima kasih ya semuanya ya.
Terima kasih,
sukses,
selamat
ya.
pagi Pak, selamat bekerja kembali.
Ya, baik, terima kasih.
Baik. Bapak dan Ibu, para peserta yang berbahagia, acara akan kami lanjutkan dengan panel diskusi, tapi untuk materi, semua materi hari ini akan diunggah ke dalam platform ketika acara sudah selesai ya Pak ya. Jadi untuk Bapak dan Ibu yang tertarik dengan materi yang sudah disampaikan, setelah acara selesai sekali lagi akan diunggah pada platform IIA Indonesia Natcon. Baik, Bapak Ibu kita akan menuju ke panel diskusi kita yang pertama, yang temanya adalah Challenges for Internal Auditing During Pandemic and Economic Recovery. Tapi sebelumnya kami ingin mengingatkan kepada Bapak dan Ibu, kalau misalnya Bapak dan Ibu nanti buka pada halaman muka platform, Bapak Ibu akan menemukan 3 menu utama, yaitu booth, main stage, dan juga concurrent. Jadi pada menu booth ini Bapak Ibu bisa melakukan tour secara virtual. Jadi kita bisa showing without moving. Dan ini bisa dilakukan ketika break lunch nanti atau mungkin juga sore nanti. Dan pastinya Bapak Ibu bisa keliling booth dari para sponsor ya. Lalu untuk mengikuti acara, sekarang juga kita sebentar lagi akan ada diskusi panel yang pertama, itu adanya di main stage. Lalu nanti sore Bapak Ibu juga bisa menikmati live music. Tadi Pak Hari juga sudah bilang bahwa live music ini akan dilakukan secara langsung di DSS Studio ya. Jadi nanti akan ada Irfan Band juga, kita akan seru-seruan selama sore nanti. Dan yang pasti nanti untuk Bapak dan Ibu juga bisa siang nanti ikutan concurrent session secara live tentunya. Jadi ada satu lagi ada booth-nya itu namanya concurrent session. Bapak Ibu bisa pilih sesuai dengan topik yang diminati, ada 3. Nanti akan kita beritahukan topiknya apa saja, tapi semuanya akan dimulai di jam 2 siang dengan durasi 1 jam. Jadi bisa dipilih nanti jam 2 siang ya. Jika kurang jelas, Bapak Ibu bisa membaca manual yang sudah dikirimkan ke email masing-masing. Kita akan sama-sama bersiap-siap untuk diskusi panel jam 10 pagi nanti. Bapak Ibu selamat datang kembali, sebentar lagi kita akan mulai untuk diskusi panel kita yang pertama.
Terima kasih, selamat pagi rekan-rekan profesi atas kehadirannya untuk bersama-sama kita mendengarkan panel yang sangat menarik ini. Sebelumnya saya akan sampaikan bahwa kita akan bicara sesi ini dalam bahasa Inggris, tapi pertanyaan apabila ini ditanyakan dalam bahasa Indonesia juga tidak apa-apa. Nama saya Injila Simatupang, saya adalah Vice President di IIA Indonesia. Saya juga anggota dari International Internal Audit Standard Board di IIA Global dan juga senior partner di RSM. Pagi ini kita akan membahas mengenai apa challenges dari internal audit selama pandemi dan juga apa yang mungkin kita harus antisipasi untuk perbaikan ekonomi ke depannya. Izinkan saya untuk menyapa para presenter kita pagi ini tentu dalam bahasa Inggris. Good morning, Maury, Salian, and Willie. Thank you so much for attending and then presenting your perspective on the challenges for internal auditing during pandemic and economic recovery this morning. So I would like to introduce Maury. Naohiro Mori is the Executive Vice President and Chief Auditor of AIG. He is based in New York in the US. And previously, he was the Statutory Executive Officer and Chief Auditor of MetLife Alico Japan, Managing Director of GP Morgan Chase, and Chairman of IIA Global. So for Mori, please, the stage is yours. Operator, can you please do the slide presentation for Maury?
Okay, well, while the operator is getting ready, Salam alaikum. Selamat pagi. Good morning. It's good to see all our internal audit colleagues through the virtual means. I know that I've seen some of you at the Bali conference and then the Yogyakarta conference that I have attended. And then I have profound memory in attending those conferences and then having conversation with you guys. So it's really good to see you virtually. We'll talk about this later, but this pandemic actually gave us the gift of allowing us to access to people who we normally would travel physically, but through virtual means. And in some ways, it actually allows us to access to greater audience through the virtual means. So it is, it has a lot of positive spin as a result of the pandemic. But is the slide coming up? So, and this also helps us to really build the partnership relationship with the stakeholders. Okay, so go to the next page, please. I think that's the end of it. Can you go to the next page, please? Yes. So, that actually concludes my part of the presentation. And I guess I will reserve the question to the later part and then pass the torch to Salian.
Thank you, Maury. Yes, it's very interesting. The new normal is the current normal, and it's here to stay. I totally agree with you on that. So it will change how we behave and do our work in the future. And we will proceed with Sally Ann Pitt. Sally Ann Pitt is here with us. She's from Melbourne. She's posted at Melbourne. And Sally Ann is the Managing Director of Pitt Group Pty Ltd in Melbourne.
I agree with you, Sally Ann. We've actually been continuously seconding our people to large initiatives, and we have a number of transformation projects ongoing, and then we actually second our people to those project teams, if not the business, and then they actually will act as part of the project team, and so they extract the information, they continue to test. And we do actually have very frequent internal transfer as well. It is actually even better than the secondment, because business can actually utilize the auditor's knowledge and control, mindset, and then be able to actually instill that into the stakeholders' business processes. So it actually helps us overall. Yes, it's a loss to the internal audit, but it's gain to the overall organization. We also do guest auditor program. So we do invite business to be part of the audit so that we gain their knowledge as part of the audit team. And as I said, we are pushing more and more for agile auditing. So in agile auditing, in Scrum meeting, all the business people will come in and then sit in the same room, and then we actually have a discussion with them. So rather than actually seconding people, we actually gain first-hand knowledge directly from the business. That actually helps us a lot as well. So, and then combine that with the continuous training for the business processes also helps. Because there's a lot of online learning that we have. But I agree with you that Sally Ann mentioned about the casual conversation being opportunities being lost. So we've actually asked all of our auditors who has stakeholder relationship to actually increase their one-on-one time frequency so that they can have casual conversation online rather than just around the water cooler. So, but that you have to do that consciously.
Thank you. Winnie, do you have a say on that? How do you manage that?
Yeah, so I agree with the comments from the panelists. I think remote working, if anything, provides a little bit more of an advantage because it levels out the playing field. Do you know what I mean? There is a certain perception sometimes that might exist that the internal auditor is there to audit, essentially. They're there to keep an eye on you. They're there to yeah, just make sure you don't do anything wrong. I think on screen, that perception is far less obvious. On screen, it doesn't matter what role you play. You're just a box on a screen, much like everyone else is a box on a screen. So it does take away that perceived barrier. But yes, you do need to be very much more intentional to make sure that they are inducted and that they do feel part of the group. And they're not isolated from meetings or informal chats or anything like that. So yeah, you can use remote working to your advantage.
Okay, so let's go to the second batch of the questions here. We have a few questions to Maury and Sally. The first about the perspective on the knowledge, the skill and behavior needed to go forward, not only now, but in the future. And considering the change of the environment and the new normal it is. And to Sally is that what recommendation will be issued? Will be less valuable? Um, and also about the confidentiality of working from home. How do we anticipate the confidentiality obligation and responsibility that we have?
Okay.
So yeah.
Sure, I'll start. As I touched a little bit in my presentation, what has happened during the COVID, obviously it's only from the beginning of this year, or rather the end of last year, we've seen the surge of digitalization of the processes, both on the stakeholder side as well as the audit side, right? This will continue. Which means that more data analytics, more automation, and auditors really need to be equipped as Willie said, that it needs to be technologically savvy. And I mean, I'm talking about very simple technology, like how do you actually use Excel macro much better, so that you can download the data and then you can slice and dice it in a different way. I'm not talking about programming. I'm not talking about the really advanced level of the technology. But still, I mean, tools like ACL IDEA will be a strong ally to us. And because the data will drive how we actually increase the quality, and then, as we discussed about the speed of delivery of the audit results. That's all been driven by how do you leverage technology, and then how do you actually deliver things, through those technological means, both from the stakeholders and then within the audit team. Right? So, and the other things that I consider that's critical is facilitation skill, because in this environment where you have to facilitate different meetings with stakeholders, like if you have a Scrum meeting or if you have team meeting, you should be able to conduct better facilitation and then be able to extract the information just through the computer screen rather than meeting in person. And data are all virtual, right? So you need to be able to work what's given. So really be able to speak to the larger group, and then be able to analyze and then summarize the information so that you can create what's beneficial for your stakeholder as an audit issue or control deficiency. And so that actually also dovetails into communication skill. It is so imperative that you have to have good communication skill. And that helps you to communicate through digital means, writing reports, presenting it through not in person but virtually. that also helps. So all those things, I believe, is really critical. It's not about the accounting. It's not about the finance that used to be treasured by internal auditors. But I believe that those are other skill sets that are required. I mean, communication skills, yes, facilitation skills. We talked about it in the past, but the importance has elevated so much during this pandemic, and then after the pandemic as well. Because I mean, at the end of the day, testing can be done by machine, right? We human should be focusing on what human is good at doing, which is really creating, communicating, and then strategizing.
Thank you. Willie, do you have something to say on that? I mean, how do you see the confidentiality of the documents from people working at home, and also on the competency itself on of the people?
So in terms of how people behave at home, I think what we need to be able to do is to set the expectations of how we expect people to behave. What is the level of knowledge around risk that we need our people to have, and what is the culture that we're trying to cultivate. So my perception, or my real emphasis, is to make sure that the organization I'm working with has the right people with the right culture. Whether they are at home, how they treat their laptops, how they treat hard copy documentation. The expectation is that whether you're at work or whether you're at home, it's treated in a safe and secure manner. So it's not lying around where your kids or your flatmates or your dog can get at it. It's kept safe and secure and locked away. It's really hard to get evidence that this is happening, which signals the need to have more education, build capability and awareness, and also get the conversation happening on a regular basis, not just with the auditor, but with line managers and team managers, and how they manage their team and how they set that expectation. So that's what we're trying to do, is to try and lift the culture, work with second line, have those conversations, not in an audity sort of fashion. So again, agree with Muri's comments around the need to be able to connect with people on a human level, not as an auditor-auditee level, to try and influence and to build capability and awareness.
Thank you. Before I close up and wrap up the session, I would like each of you to give a very brief and succinct recommendation on how we can uplift the moral as well as the culture of the auditors and the first line and the second line, so that we can work cohesively and collaboratively, that because it's becoming the the normal that needed for us to be able to work in an efficient manner. So please, we can start with Willie, and then we go to Celian, and then Maury.
Yeah, thanks. That's a really hard question. So we did a bit of a reflection today, actually, and some of the positives that we talked about was with any good crisis, it comes opportunity. And COVID and the pandemic has really provided a crisis like we haven't seen before. What it's done is to, I guess, push risk management and assurance and the value that our profession brings to an organization up a level. And I think we just need to be able to capitalize on that. I think we need to be able to interact with the people in our organization as people, and to be able to build those relationships. So I saw the term trusted advisor in the chat earlier, and I really agree with the fact that, you know, what makes us internal audit doesn't mean we can't be humans and we can't be people and we can't work closely with the people that we see and interact with every day. And that's how we get to influence the people that we are working with. And hopefully together we will start to understand that auditors is part of the same team. We're in the boat rowing as fast as we can to try and make it go faster, much like everyone else. And so there shouldn't be that us and them. It is, let's try and function as one team in one organization.
Thank you. Kellyanne?
To me, the key is in building a culture and working more effectively within the internal audit team, but also with the second line, is to be focused on value. And so within the internal audit team, I think it's really important to recognise that the internal auditors are the value drivers for the organisation. So it's about respecting them, it's about building their capability, it's about trying to leverage the value that each individual internal auditor offers as much as you can. In terms of that broader organisation and the collaboration with the second line and building the right culture, if internal audit is focused on delivering value, then I think the culture within the team and the way they collaborate with other parts of the organisation comes naturally. If they're focused on work that adds no value and is not going to help the organisation further develop and the organisation improve, they're doing the wrong work. Whereas I think there will be a lot more respect for what internal audit do and a recognition of them if they really look at work that and ask that question with every engagement they do and with each part of each engagement. Is this particular testing, is this particular audit ultimately going to lead to a better organisation? And if it's not, why are we doing it? You know, and there might be reasons, there might be obligations that some things have to happen, but I think that has to be sort of the foundation of all the work that happens.
Yes, Maury?
I agree that value creation is very important as an auditor. And this is a great time to reflect what we do as an auditor. And, you know, bottom line is internal audit is eyes and ears for senior management. And then be able to report things that, you know, your CEO or president or the chairman can't really see. And then, you know, assess how the internal control is working effectively, right? So for us, immediately the value creation came to, okay, what are the things that they worry about that we can take those worry out? We're like an insurance policy within the organization, right? Not because that I work for an insurance company, but I always feel that, you know, we're the last line of defense. And then they all come to us in the time of crisis and then says, are we okay? And if we're actually able to provide them with the assurance or some sort of assurance, right? That yes, you know, our payments are okay. Yes, our fraud controls are okay. Our cyber securities are okay. If we are able to put ourselves into that position, I believe that's a value creation that, you know, we're in. You know, building culture is great. You know, working, obviously you have to work closely with your second line and the first line. We're all in this together. And it's not us against them. You know, we're in the same team. And that's really what the opportunity that we have right now. And you know, I actually find it increased number of senior leaders actually, you know, coming to me and says, well, can you check on this because I worry about it, right? It didn't happen before because we all had the you know, things to do, but in particular when the difficult time comes, who do they call? Internal auditors, right? If you can become, that organization, I think that's really value creation, and then that's what everyone should strive for. So,
Thank you, Maury. So I'm just gonna say that earlier this year, our immediate action was a response to the pandemic during the react stage, but we are no longer in the react stage. When we react, we assess our plans, our projects, our initiatives, and operations for this year in light of the changed environment. And that is not the reason to lower our expectations in times of disruption. So no, quality is not to be jeopardized. Emergency does not mean reckless, but in many cases to create different expectations, targets, and measures of performance. So I believe that this requires a shift in mindset through actively redefining what we consider success to look like to fit with our new working environment, including appreciating the inherent challenges and opportunities that stem from it. Like Willie said, with every crisis, there are opportunities. So with the constantly evolving, unpredictable, and multidimensional nature of this ongoing crisis, from the discussion that we have, we believe that, of course, there is an increased need for adaptability. The technology become more dependent to technology tools, the different skill set we need to be able to be competent. More than ever, we need people that have logical and analytical thinking skill set. It's becoming more important rather than just doing a technical stuff, which will be replaced by technology in the future. So I think we, as the profession, we need to anticipate of the likely future needs, the trends and options, and we need to articulate those needs and build collective understanding and support for action. We need to adapt so that there is continuous learning and the adjustment of responses as necessary. And not to forget, of course, we need to be accountable, and including on how much the maximum transparency in the decision-making processes, as well in the openness to challenges and feedback. So it's not only that we challenge the first line and the second line, we need to be able to be challenged by the first line and second line to be able to provide value. And the next step is maybe also on the psychological level for us to shift our mindset to accept this redefined parameter of success, see the positivity in the change that is going on around us, and to take this adaptive and forward-thinking attitude into 2021, which I think will likely be an equally disruptive year. So having said that, I would like to ask all the attendees to give your applause and virtual thumb to our fabulous presenters this morning, Mori-san, Celian, and Willie. Thank you so much to spending your time with us, your valuable time with us, and sharing your insight and knowledge, which are very beneficial and inspiring to all the profession in Indonesia. Again, thank you so much from us. Terima kasih. And I'll bring the session back to the host.
Selamat jalan.
Thank
Thank
you
you very
Uda.
much. Enjoy your
Selamat
conference.
pagi.
Thank you.